And introduce. Go ahead, Rose.
Okay, hello, welcome everyone. Tonight we've got Jack Molisani. He's giving a second presentation this year. This time we're going to talk about the applicant tracking system, the ATS. Jack Molisani is an STC fellow and the president of ProSpring Technical Staffing, which is an employment agency specializing in content professionals, both contract and perm, at prospringstaffing.com. He is the author of Be the Captain of Your Career, a new approach to career planning and advancement, which hit number 5 on Amazon's career and resume bestseller list. And finally, Jack produces the LavaCon conference on content strategy and tech com management. You can find out more at lavacon.org. And Jack may donate a free virtual entrance tonight. So stay until the end of the session. And
Let's change that to will.
Will. That is
Will.
definite. So please welcome Jack Molisani.
Okay. So I am going to share my screen, start my presentation. All right. Can everybody see my slides?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you for that introduction. Everything she said is absolutely true. The book, however, first printing is sold out. So I'm working on a second edition. I'll let you know when that comes out. All right. Ground rules and warnings. If you've never heard me speak before, and this is more applicable to an in-person event, this is group participation. This is not me talking at you for 45 minutes. So if you have questions, please ask. Somebody's going to be monitoring the chat window for me. So if you have a question, put it in the chat window, and Nikki or Rose will then interrupt and relay that to me. Next, anything I say is just my opinion. These are things that I've made observations over the years. What works for me may not work for you, so try it. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it out the window. Certain things are contrasting points of view. I'll let you know if I have a contrasting point of view and let you chime in as well. And then finally, I've heard it said that in some cultures, they believe that artists, to attempt perfection is to anger the gods. So artists in those cultures purposely leave a little imperfection in the art they create. So if you find any typos in here tonight, just not angering the gods. All right. By the way, if there's an evaluation, just say the room's too cold, Jack talks too fast. All right, here we go. So we're going to cover 3 things. 1, what is an applicant tracking system? 2, how to avoid applicant tracking systems. And 3, if you absolutely must use one, how to work with one and get an interview. Let's get started. Applicant tracking systems started as a way to accept, store, and track resume submissions and job applications, right? So it would store your resume. If you were scheduled for an interview, it said first interview, check. Second interview, check. Offer extended, check. Offer accepted, start date. Easy peasy. They started out as mostly PC-based and then migrated to web-based as online apps evolved. And that's going to come into play in just a minute. For years, if not decades, ATSs were a benevolent tool for moving an applicant through the hiring process. However, the introduction of mobile apps and job sites changed everything. Suddenly, people could apply for a job by simply going apply, 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 and they do. And I'll give you an example. I recently posted a tech writing job, was based in New York City. I had over 100 applications. Some of them were ditch diggers, chefs. They didn't even look at the job description. So to companies to offset these hundreds of resumes, we're not even closely qualified, added AI to the applicant tracking system, right? So it used AI, this is way before ChatGPT, to weed out those non-qualified applicants. Now, to make matters worse, and I'm wagging my pen at you, started creating bots where you could automatically submit your resume, say, submit my resume anytime the word writer comes up. Anytime, right? So now you have AI submitting your resume automatically jobs. AI is automatically rejecting you. Madness. So what exactly is an ATS? So an ATS uses artificial intelligence to compare your resume to the job for which you're applying. It then ranks you on how well it thinks you match the job requirements and the job description. In the beginning, it only compared your resume against the job requirements. As they evolved, they started looking at the description of what you'll be doing and looking for that in your resume as well. Then only the top, 1%, 2% of the applications, as ranked by the ATS, are seen by real people. I can't find a hard number for that X%, but I know it's small. So what's a job applicant to do? Stop applying for jobs through applicant tracking systems. If you have to, learn how to beat the ATS at its own game, if you absolutely must. But I am banging my fist on my desk, saying stop applying for jobs through websites. They are designed to weed you out. Talk about this for a second. So the best way to beat an ATS is to not use it at all. So it's a bazillion times more effective to apply for a job using a personal connection in your network or even through a complete stranger than it is by applying through an ATS. I know 5 people last year who got a new job through a personal referral who had 0 interviews by applying for jobs through websites. 0. 5 jobs, 0 interviews through ATSs. By the way, I guess I should warn you, I'm a man of few opinions and I rarely state them, but in this case, I'm stating it. And I was kidding, I always state my opinions. So start building your network now before you need a new job, all right? So your connections are your most valuable asset in job hunting. And I'm not meaning just LinkedIn, right? It's the people you know through STC. I already told you that. 0 interviews, getting ahead of myself. Okay. So when I say you build a professional network, we talked about volunteering earlier. Volunteering at STC events, great way to build a network. Going to meetups, great way to build your professional network. And not just necessarily TechCom. For those of you who are tech writers, I know there's other people on the call. Meetups other than your particular industry. For example, there are Java programming meetups, right? Well, if you are a tech writer wanting to document software, you can meet people who might have tech writing openings at a Java networking event. So consider expanding the type of networking groups you go to, not just STC or TechCom oriented, right? For TechCom, STC, write the docs, other things. Better yet, speak at meetups. Even better, speak at conferences. I'm going to open this up to the floor. Feel free to shout out. Why does speaking at events put you in a better place than someone who doesn't?
Yeah, well, it shows that you're an expert in something, and it gives you visibility to a lot of people at once.
Exactly. Ding, 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 ding. We'll talk more about this in a bit. But yeah, you want to be visible, right? Especially if I'm doing an internet search for someone. If I'm looking for technical writer, policies and procedures, Philadelphia. Yes, Nikki, you have a question? Come off mute. Nikki, you're muted. Still muted.
Greg has a question.
Okay.
What is an example of an ATS?
Any website job page you go to. If you go to johndeeretractor.com/jobs, there's an ATS behind that. If you go into Boeing's website, jobs career page, there's an ATS behind that.
Mm.
Almost every single company other than a startup will have an ATS through which they're screening candidates. All right.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Also obvious ones are Monster, Dice, Indeed, but I'm talking any company for sure. Okay. So someone said, yeah, be visible. If I'm looking for, I'll give you an example of this. I had a client who's looking for a documentation manager. I was talking with the director, and she wanted someone who's forward thinking on the leading edge of industry. This is back when we were going from DOS to Windows, Windows to HTML, HTML to online help. And she was looking for someone who's like an industry leader. And I had a job applicant, and I Googled searched for her name and found 0 hits on the internet. 0. Now, Google my name is something like 100,000 hits by now because of all the speaking and public speaking and writing I've done. But how could you have a 0 internet footprint and be a leader in this industry?
Mm.
Someone, go ahead. Someone pointed out maybe she recently got married and changed her name. Okay, valid point. But I still, if you are positioning yourself as leader in your industry, I think you should be findable. That's Jack's opinion. I'm labeling it as my opinion. But the more visible they are, the greater your chances of finding a job or them finding you, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, Nikki, any other questions? Okay, let's press on. Oh, I can't see in the chat window. Okay. All right. So clearly, LinkedIn, social media networks are important. Start by connecting with people you know in LinkedIn. Also, not just join industry-related groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms, but you contribute.
Yeah.
Who's on the call that said she posts to LinkedIn weekly? I know
That was
you're here.
me. That was me, honey. That was
Okay,
me.
great example, right?
Right.
It's like if I need an API writer, first person I think of is I'd rather be writing. Again, names tonight. Tom Johnson, right? If I'm thinking someone who's really familiar with Polygo content management system, Sharon Burton, right? If I think content strategist for association, that's someone else. So
Ann
you
Rockley.
want, what's that?
Ann Rockley.
Not Ann Rockley. Shoot, you're getting me on names tonight. Good friend of mine, she's gonna kill me. Again, I'll come back to it. Move on. All right. But the point is contribute so you can be visible in whatever industry you're in, right? You don't have to, on the other hand, I know people in our industry who sends out like 5 webinar notices a day, or tweets 22 times a day. And finally, I just stopped following them because the signal to noise ratio, an old telephone term, was just, I don't have the bandwidth to read 25 posts a day. I just don't, right? Information overload. So there's a balance. Visible, not too visible, visible, not too intrusive. That's all I'm going to say on that. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I'm just on the thing about too much is that nobody can have that many good ideas that often. And if you think you have to say something every damn day, you're probably saying something stupid about half the time.
Why aren't you working? Who's got time to put yes? Or you're just using AI to generate articles and publish.
Yeah, just generating stuff. And when you got something good to say, pipe in and the quality quantity balance,
Yeah.
Every time I log into LinkedIn, well, not every time, but every other time I log into LinkedIn, I'll get some notice up there. You have been chosen to respond to this article.
Yeah.
And so I'll go down and tack on some platitude and And then somebody will say, "Oh, that's great. I agree with that." So
Yes,
That
and
guy was me this week.
keep in mind, the more an article is commented on, the more LinkedIn will share it.
yeah,
So I've had people who comment, say, just commenting for each, giving you that thumbs up, yes, like, and the chance that that'll be seen by more people. Yep, for sure.
okay.
Margaret, you have a question?
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna do a webinar next week about podcasting, but how do you get speaking engagements?
All right, so I'm going to give you two answers to this. One, the STC magazine is called Intercom. I have a quarterly column in Intercom. I also usually get an article published a year. How I got those, I went, at the time, Liz Poland was the editor. I go, hey, Liz, can I have a column? She goes, sure, on what? I go, how about job hunting? She goes, great. So I said, hey, what's your upcoming themes? Oh, can I write an article for that? Sure. Companies and organizations are hurting for speakers, for content, for articles. I'll give you, I said a couple of answers to this. This next one's even better. I think I covered this in my last presentation about positioning. There was a conference ran by Joe Willinski called Win Writers for writing online help. And this was decades ago. It has since morphed into Writers UA, user assistance. But in 1 year, they were doing a panel discussion where they were taking the online help from WinZip, which is the worst online help written in the history of man, decompiling it, fixing it, and recompiling it. And these experts on the panel were going to show what they did before and after. And at the time, these were the who's who of tech writing. Scott Pagan, Don Stevens, Joe Walensky. I went, hey, Joe, can I be on that panel? He went, sure. Here I am, a nobody, positioning myself as an expert because I'm on this panel discussion with all these other experts. Granted, I did decompile a help. I did a really good job. But the reason I got on the panel is because I asked, right? Rose, I believe I said, hey, Rose, or hey, Nikki, do you need a speaker? They went, sure. What do you want to speak on? I go, how about this? They went, okay. Every single organization that I asked, do you need a speaker? They went, yes, with the exception of one who's already planned their year out for the whole year, right? Just ask. It's that
You have to
simple.
be a member of those organizations.
No, you don't. No. Negative. It helps, but you don't have to be. Especially if you have something useful to say, right? Webinar and podcast. I personally got into podcasts, but we did a whole session at LavaCon 2 years ago and the room was packed. Packed, right? So have something useful to say and say, hey, do you need a speaker? Now, most of the organization I speak at, I also belong to, so I'm not going to get paid for these gigs because that'd be a conflict of interest. But there are organizations that have paid speaking gigs. Yeah, that's my answer. I'm sticking to it. Is that a good enough answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right, let's press on. Let your network know you're looking. Also monitor your network to see who's hiring. Now, LinkedIn 6, 8 months ago started doing the I'm open to work swoosh and I'm hiring swoosh. And at the time, if you're, I had mixed feeling about the open to work swoosh, especially if you are currently employed. I would not want my employer to see that I'm looking for a new job unless there's a layoff coming. Then obviously you can do that. So again, I said, there's some points your mileage may vary. You decide that if you want to use those swishes and how much you want to advertise to the world that you're available for a new opportunity.
Jack, I ended up taking it off. I put it on for a little while and it was suggested to me by an outsourcer that I think about taking it down, and I took it off because boy, is that a magnet for people wanting to sell me MBAs.
Never thought about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
good point.
I get a lot of spam based on that. Now it still says if you read it, it says that if you read it, it says that, but I took the little swoosh off.
You can put that in your profile, Joan Jones, open to new opportunities, or technical writer available for contract assignments, right? That I would not think badly of someone who did that. In fact, that would help me find you. So again, you want to be findable. So good point. Now, here's something you may not know. The majority of job openings are never posted on the web. Anybody guess why? I said it already in this presentation.
Too many people apply.
Hundreds of people apply, right? They would rather fill that opening through a network referral. Now, here's another thing you may not know. Many companies give their employees a bonus for finding someone to fill the job. It's cheaper than them posting it on LinkedIn and spending hours going through resumes. So we'll talk a little bit about this more later, but asking someone to submit you for an opening in their job is not bothering them. They make money at this. So if you're shy, get over it. All right. If you're looking for a new position and you're between assignments, you don't have the time to be shy, says the extrovert. Okay. See, I just said that. I said that too. Now, let's talk about LinkedIn for a second. Clearly, if you're a hiring manager and there's a job opening at John Deere Tractor and the documentation manager at John Deere Tractor is on LinkedIn, you can reach out to him or her and say, hey, I see you have an opening. May I send you my resume? Right? Or reach out to a tech writer. First, if you know someone in your network, which you should, because you've been networking, going to STC summits, the international conference, great place to network with people all over the country, especially if you're speaking there, right? You get to meet people. So don't be afraid to reach out to a tech writer there or whatever industry you're in, or reach out to the hiring manager because they're looking for you. They want to fill this position. All right. Now, here's the datum. Companies rarely, never post their recruiting context on their website. Too much spam. But every single recruiter has an account on LinkedIn, 99.999%, because they use LinkedIn to recruit. So even if you don't know a tech writer there, even if you don't know the hiring manager there, you could always find a recruiter there and then ask them if you can submit your resume for that job. Now, you're going to get one of three answers. You'll get no response at all. They'll go, sure, send me your resume. Or they'll say, no, go ahead and apply for the job for our website and I'll keep an eye open for it. What's good about that third option? Bruce, go, Richard.
Keeping the eye open.
There's still a human in the loop, right? It's at least there's a human looking for the application and can pull your resume out of the spam folder if the ATS doesn't think you're a match. Okay. Again, you want to avoid the applicant tracking system wherever possible. Here's another story I've told before. Back when I was an independent contractor tech writer working in Orange County, I was looking for my next assignment and decided to write an article for my newsletter. The STC Tech Describe is the Orange County chapter's newsletter. And I reached out to all the companies I would like to work at. And I said, hi, I'm writing an article on trends in hiring in TechCom. May I interview to all these tech documentation managers? They all said yes. I did the interview. And at the end, I said, by the way, would you like a copy of the article once it comes out? Yes. What's your email address? And I asked questions like, are you going to be hiring this year? Contract or perm? What tools do you use? What background? I now knew every single hiring manager in Orange County, what they were looking for, when they were looking for it, and I had their email address, and I could go, oh, by the way, may I send you my resume at the end of my contract? I've never been unemployed. Okay. So this is an example of you taking proactive steps to find real people instead of applying for 35 jobs a weekend on the web.
So the people think it's too pushy if you say, on your LinkedIn network, hey, can I send a resume or?
No, I don't.
I've taken to going ahead and 99% of the time applying for the job on LinkedIn, but then exactly digging up somebody that says recruiter or HR somewhere in their list and saying, hey, I saw this cool thing, and I have a rote email that I put together. I saw this cool position. I put the name of the position. I said, hey, I went ahead and applied for this today. You know, this is why I'd be good for it. Let's talk about what I can do for you. Bam.
Brilliant. I'm going to add this to my presentation.
Please do. Because honestly, it's a lot of them when I ask them, hey, can I send this? I will occasionally attach it as well, but I usually go ahead and apply so they can go through their process and their shtick. But then I hunt somebody down, and even if it's not the right person, all the HR people go, you know, that's not me, that's Debbie, but I'm going to send this to her. So
Perfect.
that has worked well.
That also gives you an opportunity. What I think is the perfect cover letter is a summary of how your experience matches the job requirements.
Heck yeah.
Hi, I just applied for this job. You want 5 years experience? I have 10. You want experience with data? I've been teaching it for 2 years, etc. Here's a link to my LinkedIn profile. Thank you, me. All right, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm adding it to the presentation.
You're welcome.
I love speaking because I learn things in my own session. Okay, another option to be so visible that an expert that people want to hire you and will come ask you to come work for them. You're not applying for a job. They're saying, hey, we have an opening. Would you consider coming to work for our company? Oh, match made in heaven, right? So speak at conferences, write articles, start a blog, post on social media, be visible. Okay, I'm gonna go back to that one. Be visible in a pro-survival sort of way, as opposed to, I don't want to see you drinking margaritas through a hose in Mexico as your social media presence. Be professional. Yes. It happens. Actually, I've seen companies, and I would not do this, but I've seen companies want you to unlock your Facebook page for them. To me, that strikes me as illegal and intrusive, and I would not want to work for there. But I have heard that from. What's that? Say again?
That happened to me just yesterday, and that's a big no.
Yeah, nope, hard no. Yeah. Remember, this is not part of the slide, but okay, you're looking at going to work for a company that you're going to spend more time at work than you are at home, right? So you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you.
Yes.
A related story I tell is, again, this was decades ago when we first started doing desktop publishing, and I applied for a tech writing job at a technical writing outsource company. And I was showing the person interviewing me the sample that I did, and I was very proud. I had a lot of white space above my headings, I had a lot of space in the margins, and this is how I designed the page. And the interview interrupted me and said, excuse me, here, designers design, writers write. And I stood up and said, thank you very much for interviewing me. Clearly, I'm not the right person for this job, and left. Because if she's going to talk to me that way in the interview, how would she talk to me after I was employed there? No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, hard no. Okay. Anybody else want to add something? Okay. Deep breath. Now that I've talked to you about not using ATSs, let's look how to get past them if you absolutely must apply online. If you've run out of all options and the only way that you have to get a job is to apply through an ATS, let's look at how to do that. For the person who just joined us, this session is being recorded, and you can catch up what you missed on the previous slides.
He was here before. He just
Yeah, I got kicked off for some reason.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, there are many websites and books on how to be an ATS when applying for jobs. There's no way I'm going to cover all of it. I'm going to hit the main points. Go do your research. I am a firm believer that a resume is just a vehicle that shows that you match what the reader's looking for. And that's all it is, right? It's not your life's history. It's not a capabilities overview. It just shows that you match what I'm looking for. This is especially true when the reader is an ATS. Hey, Zoe, welcome. Session's being recorded. You can see what we missed already. We talked about how to avoid using an ATS. Now we're talking about if you have to use an ATS, how to beat it at its own game. So again, your job when applying for a job through an ATS, which you shouldn't be doing in the first place, but if you must, make sure that the AI thinks you match the job. The title at the top of your resume and your current job and previous jobs must match the job posting exactly. I've got it in red, bold, italics. Do you think I mean this? Yes, yes, I do. Your title must match their job posting exactly. If they're looking for an information engineer, by golly, you're an information engineer. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then say on your resume, information engineer / technical writer, or whatever your title is. My personal belief is if you're filling out a job application and it says title, and they're going to verify what your title was at your last employer, that's where you put your title. But if your title is member of technical staff, that means nothing to me. You know, if it's a content guru, you're not going to get past the ATS. So you have to show that you match what they're looking for exactly, bold, red, italics. In case you didn't think I didn't mean it. So if it's a senior information engineer, by golly, you must say you're a senior information engineer. All right, I'm going to illustrate this with a real story. A friend of mine was a UI UX designer. UI is user interface, UX is user experience. She was a UI UX designer applying for a UX designer position and was not getting interviews. In a couple slides forward, I'm going to say there are places where you can post the job and post your resume, and I'll tell you how good a match you are. And she finally figured out why she wasn't getting interviews. The job posting was UI UX designer, but her resume said UX UI designer, and the ATS said that's not a match and kicked her out.
Oh, good God.
Any human would say UX UI designer is the same thing as a UI UX designer. ATS did. It was that stupid. Artificial intelligence, oxymoron. Okay. When I say exactly, I mean exactly. This is why you should not be applying for jobs through websites. This alone is why you should not apply for jobs through websites. Grr. So make sure your resume shows that you match the job requirements using their exact wording. And it used to be, I guess I said this earlier, the ATS used to compare your resume to the job requirements. It now also compares your resumes to the job description. So if one of the things in the job description is you saying that you will interview subject matter experts, by golly, you must put in your resume somewhere that you've interviewed subject matter experts, even that's not in the requirements. Each resume, therefore, must be tailored for the exact job for which you're applying. And it's going to look like Frankenstein wrote this resume. I would never send that to a real person, but your job is not to get to a real person. Your job is to get past the ATS, right? Oftentimes, you can attach a formatted version of your resume, which a real human at one point will see if you get past the ATS. But the point is to get past the ATS first. There are websites where you can take a job posting, post it in one window, post your resume in another, and it will tell you how well it thinks the AI will score you. Just search the internet for, is my resume ATS friendly to find one? There's many. In fact, I would use many to see how you're scored in various places. And then you can tweak your resume and Frankenstein it until you get the highest possible match you can score before actually applying to the job you want. which you shouldn't be doing because you're finding a real person anyways, right? I am not a huge fan of ZipRecruiter.com. I'm not, but they have such an evaluation tool, which might be useful if you're applying for a job through ZipRecruiter. Just saying. Okay. Now, so what do you do if you haven't done or don't have one of the requirements? I always say never lie in a resume. It'll come back to bite you, right? Figure out how to word a truthful statement. For example, maybe requirements must have experience with BuzzMO. You could say 5+ years experience with RFs, a content audit tool similar to BuzzMO. See, I got that keyword in there, but I didn't say I have BuzzMO. I just said I've used a tool similar to BuzzMO. Okay, tell an acceptable truth. Another thing to keep in mind, AIs can't parse long sentences, so use short phrases. I did a book review on the guy who started as a recruiter wrote a book on job hunting, and he talks about ATSs. And his wording is talk like a caveman. Meet, good, right? Keep verbs and objects in close proximity. If the job requirement is must have experience writing user guides or training materials, then you say wrote training materials, not wrote a variety of content for end users, including user manuals, standard operating procedures, job aids, and training materials. That direct object is way too far from the verb. Wrote documentation, documented UI, wrote API guide, short, objects close proximity. Also keep in mind, many ATSs can't parse a table. So if you come up with this beautiful resume with all this information in tables, it won't read it. It won't read text boxes. It can't read icons and graphics. I can't tell you how many times I get a resume where the person's name is this squirrely graphic or their phone number email is a graphic. An ATS can't read graphics. It can't oftentimes read a header and footer in a Word doc. It's that stupid, right? So you almost remember the days of ASCII? Okay, help me out. ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Plain text. We're talking Notepad. Remember writing your resume in Notepad, anybody? Me? I do. How did we create headings in Notepad? Somebody.
Bold. Underline.
What?
Bold or centered.
We don't have bold or centered in ASCII, just plain text.
Oh. Just
Underline.
stars around.
Don't have underline. Who
caps.
said it? All
All
caps.
caps.
All caps is how you create a heading in plain text. It's that, I'm telling you, it's bad. Really, really bad. I would never, ever, ever these days apply for a job through an ATS. I would not. Unless we did, and I forget who said it again, brilliant person at the bottom of the screen. I apply for the job and then reach out to recruiters saying I just applied for this job. Whoever said that, take credit for it, please.
That would be Catherine. Thank you.
Catherine, yay for Catherine. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. Make your resume as plain as possible. Save that perfectly formatted resume for the interview. God, I'm getting tired just ranting about this. Can you tell I have opinions about ATSs? Yeah, save that gorgeously formatted, beautifully written resume for the interview. Okay, we're getting near the end. Okay. Summary. ATSs compare your resume to the job description, not just the requirements, also the job description, and will reject you if it thinks you're not a good match. My advice is stop applying for jobs through ATSs unless you're doing it like Catherine does and apply for the job and said, hey, reach out to a human. Get a personal referral through your network from a complete stranger if you have to, or a recruiter there. Just don't stop applying for job after job after job. And if all else fails, format your resume and beat the ATS at its own game. Okay, I'm going to pause now for no other reason than I need oxygen. Questions, comments?
So I'm going to apologize if this is painfully remedial, but is LinkedIn an ATS? When you apply through LinkedIn, you get the thing that says you get notifications, you got 30 opportunities for business analysts, remote or in New Orleans. Is that applying through an ATS?
I don't know.
What happens is you go to a website, if you pick one of
Yeah,
the things, it'll take you to their website and then you will or won't have an ATS. Probably.
Gotcha. Yeah,
right.
it'll be
Or
obvious.
Indeed, like Indeed just says you have an applicant for this job. It doesn't actually do it'll allows me to add questions. Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have FrameMaker? But normally the jobs on LinkedIn will take you to, as Richard says, some company's website, and that company will have an ATS. Good question. No,
Gotcha.
not a bad question at all.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Oh, questions. We're already there. All right. If there's no other questions, then recommended reading. That book by the guy who started ZipRecruiter, Get Hired Now. Warning, there is information in that book that I think is absolutely wrong. Just wrong. Dated like, to be hired, you must be one of the first 12 people who apply for a job within the first 13 minutes that it's posted.
Oh, crap.
No, that may be true for a cashier or a forklift driver. It is absolutely not true for a tech writer or a business analyst or anybody else on this call. Higher ed administration, no. But it does have a section on ATSs. If you're going to get the book, get it from the library instead of paying for it. And then read the sections on ATS and ignore the rest. Or evaluate it for yourself, just saying. Pamela Patterson wrote a book called Get the Job, How to Optimize Your Resume for the Online Job Search. The print is out of print, but you can still get a ebook copy on Amazon. I'm sure there's more. These are the only two that I've actually read myself. And
my half price used books is my best friend for this kind of stuff.
There you
That's
go.
right. And online, you can always try the American Book Exchange. Abe,
I'm not familiar with that. Will you put it in the chat window, Patrick?
Yeah, sure.
Here's a hint. You know how a lot of authors get to be #1 on Amazon? There are certain organizations where you can drop the price of your book to like 5 cents. And they will publicize that wisely, and then 10,000 people buy it for 5 cents. You don't make any money, but you get to be #1 on Amazon's Career bestseller list. Mine only hit #5 because Who Moved My Cheese books were above me, right? And I didn't play the system. I just told everyone I knew that the book was available. All right, then, okay. So 2 things we're going to do now. 1, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Jack Molisani on LinkedIn. And 2, when I have a job opening, the first thing I'm going to look is my own network. It's people I've met, people have seen me spoke, because I'd rather go with someone I know than someone I don't. Feel free to email me your resume. I put my resume email address in the chat window, but again, it's here, jack@prospringstaffing.com. All right. One of the ways that I give back to the STC community, or whatever community, if you're here, I'll do it for you as well. I'll review your resume. I'm not going to spend 5 hours on it, but I can point out there are some errors. Okay, for those of you who have seen me speak before, what is the most common mistake I see in resumes?
Typos.
Typos, absolutely. Let me stop this for a second. This is especially true for tech writers. There are 3 types of dashes in this world. A hyphen, like mother-in-law, right? And law. That's a hyphen. And I hate Calibri. I can't believe this is their default font. All right. Let's go 26. Okay. Now, here is a thing you may not know. If you do, okay, let's do the next one. According to the Chicago Manual Style, the most correct punctuation for a date range is an N dash. It's called an N dash because it's the width of the letter N. So from 5, alt 150 to 10, or Monday. For those of you who don't know the alts, you can go insert, symbol, more symbols, N dash. If you use the numeric keypad, alt 0150 is an N dash. Okay. Now, you may not know this, but Microsoft Word wants to be helpful. If you do a space number hyphen number, unless you turn this feature off, it turns that into an N dash for you. If you don't, if you do space hyphen up arrow, it does not. So suddenly your resume now has a mix of N dashes and hyphens in your resume date ranges. I bet you half the people on this call, when you go back and look at your resume, are going to have a mix of hyphens or N dashes in your date range.
Not
Third dash,
anymore.
more. All right. What's the third type of dash?
M
dash.
M dash.
N
It's
dash.
called M dash because it's the width of the letter M, and it's used to set up subordinate clauses. My mother, M dash, who's a blonde, M dash, arrives on Monday.
With an N dash, you need a space on either side for Word to make it into.
No, there's two different styles, closed and open.
Yeah.
If you
Can you set it for closed?
You should be,
The default is that it wants a space on either side, like CMS.
Right. Again, according to the Chicago Manual Style, the correct punctuation for a date range is an N dash, no spaces.
No
the
space.
problem is,
I don't know.
I see this. Oops, stop. Control Z, copy. I see this. I see this, an N dash. I see this space. It's just, I see this all the time. Pick one. I don't care which. Just pick one and be consistent. Right? Again, if I have 5 applicants for a job, 4 of them have perfect resumes, and somebody who's got this, I'm going to submit the other 4 first. The easiest way, if you're a tech writer, especially if you're a tech writer, especially if you say expert editor, no, you're not, or you would have caught this. Right? And I'll tell you, you've looked at your resume so many times for so long, you're not going to see this.
Yeah.
So give your resume to someone else to proofread. Give it to your mother, give it to your next door neighbor, give it to another tech writer, give it to me. But I don't want to say never, ever, ever apply for a job without someone else looking at your resume, because they will find things you missed. Right?
One way I get around this problem, I think I get around this problem with this N dash versus hyphen is to always make sure I have the whichever dash that I want, and then always copy it from
one to one. Yep.
From the place I first inserted, so that I know it's consistent.
Yep. Excellent idea. Second thing I tell people is turn that feature off in Word. It's part of the autocorrect settings. Just turn it off. If you're going to error, do it yourself. Okay. So that's my error tip.
I just wanted to, for completeness, on the M dash, there's 2 styles for M dashes. One style is open, which means there's a space on both sides of the dash before the words, the enclosed words. The other one is closed, and I have forgotten. I think that Chicago likes closed, but I've forgotten which. You'd have to look
Probably.
it up. But whichever one it is, be consistent about it.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Yes. Yes, I agree.
The closed ones, by the way, have a hairline space. They're not touching.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm talking to a tech writer audience.
Yeah. But anyway, there you go. But
now,
be consistent.
I used to say engineers can get away with typos in their resumes, but tech writers cannot. I don't believe that's even true anymore. I had a hiring manager tell me about an engineer, a software engineer that I submitted. He said, if she can't write 2 pages of error-free resume, how can I expect her to write 10,000 lines of error-free code?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, because the code's even more unforgiving, then you're
Yes, but you're with the code, you're talking to the computer and it helps you fix it immediately, gives you feedback.
Yeah, the compiler. was
Nowadays,
still-
no, that's
yes,
not what I meant. I mean, if you're writing, maybe, but if you're writing code, the error you just made may change the code.
correct. And I'll give you an example of this. Granted, this is back in the Fortran days, but back in the 70s, I think it was, that nowadays when you declare a variable, if you're not a programmer, you have to say this variable is a number, this variable is a letter, this variable is a word. Back in the days, it would just automatically, if you didn't say, it would just assume. And there's a line in this programming language at the time that if you want to do something 10 times, you say do 1 to 10 and then what you want it to do. Well, this person didn't declare what that variable was. So the programming language created a variable called do 10 1.
Yeah,
Assigned it a value of 10.
You got
and
it.
then skip the rest of that code. And that code, that line of code was never tested. And one day something happened in space and that code got executed and the satellite veered off and flew off into the sun and never to be seen from again.
Yeah.
Just because some programmer made a typo.
Yeah. So you got to be typo free.
It's harder to do that today, but it still can be done. Okay, the point is, give your resume to somebody else to review, not just you. And those of you who have had my resume reviewed by you know that I am brutally honest when I review. You know who you are.
That was super helpful.
Thank you. I try not to be malicious, but I will point things out that I see. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. All right. So 2 things. Let me go back to my slides for a second. We're going to do a drawing for free entrance to LavaCon now. However, if you want to come to my conference about content strategy, which is going to be in Portland in October, if you want to come in person, use the referral code beat the ATS for $200 off your in-person tuition. Enough sales pitch. All right. So currently there are 15 participants on this call, 14 not including me. So I'm going to go to a random number generator.
Take me out because I won last time.
You know what? If you come up again, we'll take you out and do it again. So generate between 1 and okay. Third one down, and mine is me, Nikki, Richard. Would you like a free entrance to LavaCon?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Never used the other 2 that I won over the years.
Right? Okay, let's give away another one because there are other people other than people I've known for decades on this call.
All right.
So let's go back to this and say generate a new number 10. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who's 10? Okay, I know I'm going to butcher your name. Is it Laini?
Linus.
It's Lina, and I'm the one who won last time, so toss me out.
Okay.
I like my luck streak, though.
All right, let's do one more to someone who hasn't won before. All right, both of you though have to email me to get the link. Easiest way, if you don't have my email address already, is jack@lavacon.org. One more, and the number winner is 9. So right above you is Catherine Poe.
Woohoo!
Yay.
I will be in Ireland that week.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm very excited. I'd love to do it if I wasn't going to be having a nice dinner in Galway.
Tell you what, everybody, you know what? Register anyways, and you'll get access to all the recordings.
Oh, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, one more person. 8. Who is above you? Where'd you go? All right, let me just count from the top again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Frank Welsh.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. email me. You got my email address in the slides, or jack@lavacon.org also gets to me. Before we end the presentation part of the meeting, does anybody have a question that you didn't ask while I was speaking? You may do so now. Or,
Jack, this is Andrew. Can you hear
yeah,
me?
Andrew, go.
Hi. So I came in late and I apologize. The gist of the ATS related advice is make it simple and make it interpretable only by the ATS. And once you clear that hurdle and a human gets involved, send a totally different resume.
Yep, absolutely, without a
Okay.
doubt.
Mm.
I did mention that earlier, but you're reinforcing it. So Andrew is also a tech writer, recruiter for tech writers. Andrew, feel free to put your email address in the chat window for anybody looking.
Thank you, I will. But I appreciate that, Jack. No, I'm trying to understand. You're basically talking about two audiences here. One is the machine, and one is the human. And you're not. The risk I would have thought exists is once the ATS compatible resume is seen, a human comes along and tries to read the same thing.
Yep.
And says, "This makes no sense. This is an engineered resume." You're saying that's not really a risk.
Many, if not most ATSs will have a window where you paste your resume, and that's where you put the ATS friendly resume, and then you can attach an attachment, and that's where you attach the PDF for the real human.
I see. So
Or-
submit both together. Okay.
Yep. Or you go, this is my ATS friendly resume. Please email me for a formatted version. I would have no problem with that if I got that as a hiring manager. Right? So you're acknowledging this is not my best resume. Email me for a formatted resume and for a summary of how my experience matches the job description.
Excellent.
I think that would stand you in good stead.
Get it. That's fine advice and keeps it
Yes.
honest.
Yeah, even the human on the other side of the ATS must recognize that there's problems with that system.
Yep, for sure.
I guess I guess the thing is like what you said, well, I was very surprised when you said just avoid it and network instead. And then I guess with the LinkedIn, I always think that people are so inundated with requests on LinkedIn. I wonder if I'd be annoying them or something. When you mentioned LinkedIn.
No. Yeah, here's the deal. When I post job descriptions, if you have questions, call me. How many people put their phone number in a job description? 1 out of 2,000 people pick up the phone and call me. Right? So, and rarely do people reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask me questions. It's the people who just apply for the job on Indeed by going apply are the people I have problems with. I welcome personal communication. Again, I'm an extrovert. I'm also a recruiter. I do this for a living. An introverted tech writer may not be as open to tech writing, but again, we've all been laid off. At least I know I've been laid off. Many of us have been laid off. Many of us know what it feels to be out of work, and many of us have empathy for people who are looking for a new job. Again, do your own A/B testing. Try it to a person. If it works, keep it. If they say, stop calling me, well, clearly that didn't work, right? And again, my viewpoint is this. If I'm out of work, my job is to find my next job. If I offend somebody on the way to doing that, sorry, next. I'm going to find somebody who's not offended by me reaching out to them. Because guess what? They're not calling you now. What are they going to do? Not call you more? They're already not calling you. So if you piss off somebody because they don't want to be talked to, what have you lost? Nothing. They may unfriend you or unlink you on LinkedIn. I've never seen that happen. It could happen. Again, I don't want to be spammed, but if someone, oh God. Okay. So those of you who know me or are friends of mine on Facebook, and anybody here is more than welcome to friend me on Facebook. Because I produce a conference, I got an email from somebody saying, hey, we're a startup. We don't have a lot of money. Would you consider comping me in? And I've done that before, especially people out of work, especially on the virtual track. But the cover letter was written like it was written by an AI. It like had phrases from my website. It had a summary of what the conference of leading industry professionals. And so I didn't know if this was spam, if it was an AI generated email. So I basically said, we do have scholarships, but they'll already be allocated, sorry. And then I went, P.S. your resume sounds like it was written by an AI. And he writes me back, it was. And he was so excited that he used AI to write his resume, and it sounded so not human. Okay, if you're going to ask me for something, this is just my personal opinion, ask me. Don't use some artificially generated form letter. I want a human-to-human communication. And to me, a job application, this is why I really, really dislike people who use resume writing services. There are people on this call who the first thing I asked is, who wrote this resume for you? Because I knew it was not written in their voice. I can tell when someone's written by somebody else. And as a writer, especially those of you who are tech writers in this call, your resume is the first example of your writing that I see, or a hiring manager is going to see. And we will judge you based on what we see in your resume. If it's now, okay. However, comma, there are job postings now for companies that says tech writers must have experience writing using AI to write documentation. Then you go, hi, I'm applying for your job. Here's a copy of my resume written by AI. Well, in that case, you're showing that you match what they're looking for. Ding, 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 yes. But you know what? That person could have gotten a free entrance to my conference had he just asked me himself. I'm not proud of this. I'm not anti this. And I asked my peeps on Facebook, did I do the right thing? And everyone said, yeah. He goes, I wouldn't have, replied to that either. But again, I'm labeled it as my personal opinion. I want you to tell me how you match what my job, what I'm looking for, and why you're a good fit for my company if I'm hiring. Again, my personal opinion. By the way, if anybody had a question that you did not want to air in public, feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to answer.
I can stop the recording if no.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Let's do that. Because some people, I forgot we were still recording. Okay, good. Let's stop the recording.